you ever feel decreased morale or motivation at work? Do you feel a sense of stress and anxiety when you think about work or your manager? Do you have low job satisfaction, burnout? Do you feel like sometimes your self esteem is undermined? Is your professional growth stalled or impaired because of your leadership? If your team does not collaborate and you have a lot of increased absenteeism, both personally and others on your team, and maybe your hair is coming out, you might have a little acne, you feel stressed, weight is fluctuating because, work is impacting your physical health, and you don't feel as creative or innovative at work, kind of just going through the motions, and your personal relationships in the workplace, even if you work remote or in a hybrid environment, are strained, or you don't even try to build relationships, well, your workplace might be toxic. So if you can identify with any of those things on my list, I promise you might be working in a toxic culture or for a toxic boss. And so today on the Untoxic Boss series, this episode, we're tackling a crucial topic that affects us all. How do you identify a toxic boss? So I'm going to go through a couple of signs and red flags today. We want to make leaders untoxic bosses. Our goal really is to make sure that people have an enjoyable workplace. I don't think we need to work like the people who came before us, the baby boomers, and maybe even some people like me, the Generation X, that this is as good as it gets, right? People can talk to you any kind of way at work. You can experience belittling, isolation. People can just ignore you. They can gaslight you at work. They can even hold you back because it benefits them to keep you on their teams. There are so many toxic behaviors that we've normalized in the workplace. And I'm here to call foul on all of that, right? Because that is not the way it should be. And why this topic is so important to me is because we've coached thousands of men and women in the workplace at different levels of their careers on the talent pipeline. And very few of them have shared stories about amazing leadership. Isn't that crazy? Like they come to us, they're looking to move their careers up, move forward, accelerate their careers. They're up for new promotions, but they all have stories, painful stories, workplace trauma. And this actually is across all demographics in the workplace: age, race and ethnicity, gender, religion, no matter what, they all have a story. And I think a lot of those stories come because companies do not spend enough time training their employees on how to lead people. They don't they make sure that you have all the technical competency to do your job, but they don't teach you how to become a leader worth following. And so that's what I'm up to. I'm on a mission to help leaders be the kind of folks that people raise their hand and say, I want to follow you. I want to work for you. And why? Because that's what it should be like. Like if I'm going to spend and make this huge investment in my education so that I can get this career that I imagine, I don't think I should be disenchanted when I get there and feel like, oh, this is it, right? This is what it's like. I got to work for someone who has no interest in leading me and training me and helping me be better. If this is the best that it's going to be, right? I invested $60,000 in an education, and maybe I have multiple degrees and certifications, and people are pushing me to be certified. But then I have to work. Not only do I have to work long hours, I can deal with working long hours. I hear that all the time. And even when I was in corporate and public accounting, the long hours didn't bother me, especially if I loved my team, if I loved the people I work for, had leaders who wanted the best for me and wanted to see me thrive in the workplace. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that. So I want to talk to you about what are some of the signs and red flags. And I bet y'all have some of them. So, you know, let me know, are you a people leader? Are you a team leader? And how many people do you manage on even if it's a project or on a day-to-day basis? So, tell me, how many people are you leading right now? And if you are a people leader, or maybe you aspire to be a people leader, you got a promotion coming up, Or even if you're a young professional, you might have just completed an internship and you see yourself like, do you just want to be an individual contributor or do you see yourself managing people? And if you do, I want you to be a leader worth following. I want you to be an untoxic boss. That's what we want to create in you. And so, what are some of the signs and red flags? I want to start with a big one: gaslighting. Y'all, did you know people they're gaslighting people at work? And gaslighting comes in a variety of different forms. One of them is when you come to a leader and say, I've been working with Tom, and every time I turn around, he's making some negative comments about women, or he's making a negative comment about small schools or historically Black colleges and universities, asking, like, well, did y'all learn this when y'all were at your school? Or I've never heard of that school. Could it be good? Or they're making comments, negative comments about different ethnicities. And you go to your leader and say, I don't feel comfortable working with Tom. He's always making these, I think, inappropriate comments, or his jokes just don't land well. And Tom says, oh, Jeannine, don't worry about that. You know how Tom is. He doesn't mean any harm. He's harmless. That's the sign. That's gaslighting. What Tom should say is, oh, wait a minute. He's offended you? You know what? Let me talk to Tom first and see what's going on. Right? As a peer or as a superior to Tom, he should immediately go and say, we got to nip this in the bud, because Tom is out of order. He's inappropriate. If one person is offended in the workplace, that's one too many, in my opinion. And so gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the gaslighter, in our story, the protagonist is Tom, he attempts to make the victim doubt their own reality. You start doubting your perceptions and maybe even your sanity. So when your boss engages in gaslighting behavior, it causes a toxic and hostile work environment for you and other employees. And so if you think that your reframing of someone's behavior or an issue or a comment is just trying to clear it up so that you can move past it, that might be, I'm a reframer, but sometimes we have to sit back and say, is my reframing causing the person to feel like they're being gaslit? And some of us don't recognize that. So be careful in reframing other people's experiences and situations. If someone comes to you, or if you come to your leadership and you say, this is happening, and they start to reframe, feel comfortable in saying, I appreciate you're trying to look at the glass half full. You're looking at the sunny side of the situation, or you may have a different type of relationship with this person. But my experience is this, and I really need you to hear me and understand what I'm experiencing with this person or in this environment. Because sometimes we have to remind people, hey, this is my experience, not your experience. So, how can you help me with my experience? So, that's a sign of a toxic leadership or a red flag of a toxic work culture. Signs of a toxic boss is, I tell you, a great opportunity has been presented to me and you make it about you. You get upset because you feel like I should stay and be loyal to you and to the group. And there's a part of me that understands that, like 1% of me. The other 99% of me is saying, let people be free to explore their career aspirations within your company, because it's better to keep them a high performer than it is to lose them to another organization where they feel seen and accepted, and they go to another organization. Now, I'm going to be honest too. This does not happen to white men. White men can pursue whatever they want in an organization and they get all the support that they need. And how do I know? Because I work with white men too. And I've never had a white man come to me and say, hey, I'm taking an offer in another part of the company, and people were upset with me, that they told me that I betrayed them. That does not happen. And it needs to stop happening to women and to people of color, because it's not right. So that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. And I know I've spent a lot of time talking about that. But if you've ever been in that situation where you felt afraid to tell someone that you were moving on to another area, or you felt as if they were stopping you from getting a promotion or taking another role because you have to inform within your organization that you are applying for another job and they're blocking you, don't be a career blocker. That is toxic behavior. Your employees are not your possessions, and you should want to see them win. You should want to instead take credit and say, I did that. I helped Michelle get that promotion. I helped Kim get that promotion. I helped, Tom. I made him better, smarter, working for me, prepared him for his next. That's the kind of leader. That is an untoxic boss. The next thing that is toxic, and we see this all the time, you can just put in the chat in the URL in Google and say, what are signs of a toxic boss? And one of the things is micromanagement. Constantly scrutinizing and controlling every aspect of your employees' work product, what they do, how they do it. Good leaders who are delegating work and working on being more strategic in their roles shouldn't even have time to micromanage. Now, I understand if you have someone that needs a significant amount of development and direction, then you give them significant direction and development. But if you say, no, you need to put this in this Excel spreadsheet and it has to go in cell E7 versus they put it in E6, or you say it has to be done exactly this way, the way I've been doing it for the last 20 years, that's micromanagement. The hard thing to do as a leader is to avoid having favoritism because you want to be fair in your leadership style. But sometimes we do have favorites and we got to manage that as great leaders. Lack of recognition is something that makes people feel small and unseen at work. So, failing to acknowledge and appreciate employees' efforts and achievements is toxic behavior. It is a red flag. It is a sign that you're not a good leader. And so, one of the last things I wanted to address is sometimes toxic bosses, they neglect an employee's well-being, pretend like they don't recognize that something is wrong with a person. And a lot of stuff is just caught up in, gets lost in translation and in communication. And I think this is why leaders need to really spend a lot of time working on both their emotional intelligence, but also their communication skills and their ability to even discern what's happening. I feel like working as a leader is almost like parenting when it comes to the heart, right? The heart of people. Like being able to say, I'm going to take personal responsibility for the development and nurturing the people who work for me, which is a sign of love at work. And I know a lot of people don't like to use that, but if we approached our leadership style through a lens of, I'm going to share and love these people to become the best that they want to be, not necessarily the best that I want them to be, but the best that they want to be. I want to encourage you to look at your leadership style, not just as an untoxic boss who is becoming a leader worth following, but through the lens of love. If we show and demonstrate care for people, genuine care, it'll completely change how people work, their commitment, their capacity to get work done for you, how we make people better, how we create genius makers. That's what we want to be. We want to make people smarter in the workplace. Hey there, this is Jeannine K. Brown, your host of the Untoxic Boss. Did you enjoy that clip? If you did, there's so much more waiting for you in the full episode. You can catch the entire conversation over on Spotify or anywhere where you listen to podcasts. Just press the link below. We're exploring some powerful topics, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So don't forget to leave comments, reviews, and of course, if you love the show, give us a 5-star rating. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more people who need these conversations and solutions. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Remember, don't be a jerk at